Hey, what's up, guys? Michael's here. On today's video, we are going to create a encapsulation for Axios. And on this video, we are going to go through this. We're gonna finish all these tasks. So we are going to to call a query request function, and we're gonna handle request params, and on the request interceptor, we're going to modify request header, and I'm gonna set our use like tokens, and then we're gonna send a request, and when we get a response from server, so we are going to deal with the response. So it's gonna go through the response interceptor, and that is gonna handle internet error, and it's gonna handle like auth error and general error, and that's gonna complete the request, and then we're gonna handle data. So instead of like if we use in the Axios, so that's the example from the official website. That's like how we normally get a request, like we do Axios post, and then we pass our a path like a URL, and then pass our data. We're gonna deal with the data or etc. stuff and catch the errors. So instead of doing all of that in our code, we can do that. We can create this encapsulation, and we can make it easier with the 2 lines of code like this. This is like it's like a style in Go to deal with the error. So okay, so let's start then. And we are going to create a project. So we're gonna use Vite. So if you go into this Vite official website, if you scroll down, we can use that. Create Vite, and we're gonna give a name, give a project name. So we're gonna say Axios tutorial. Now we're gonna use React, TypeScript, and we are going to the project. So in a project, we need to run. Just make it a little bit bigger. So we are going to install dependencies with npm install. It's gonna take maybe a minute. So let me just close the window that I don't need. So I think we are good to go now. Let's check the package JSON. We have a couple of scripts. DV should be development, build, linked, and the previews. So what we're gonna use, we're only gonna use def, npm run def. So okay, as you can see, the project is running now. So let me just do some modification here, just to remove something that I don't need. Let's say I remove these couple lines. As you can see, yeah. So we are going to do, let me remove that. Okay, so we are going to create a folder. We're gonna call the folder called Axios. So we are gonna write every like all Axios encapsulations in here. And so gonna do a index. So actually we need to install Axios. Then we're gonna import that. So first thing first, we are going to first thing we're gonna do is we are going to have a get function. So let me just copy that. Let me leave that on the top so that I can look at that, then I know what am I going to do. So we are going to create a function called get. Let's say get function. Okay, that's get function that's going to take a URL. That's going to be string type. Oops. And it takes string and it takes params. And the params we need to define the params. So we define a param as we call it interface any object. So that's going to be key with the index, diagonal string, and the value going to be unknown any. So we're gonna assign the type to params and I'll give you a default value. So that I think the vid recommend to use unknown instead, so that's fine. And the task we are going to have a return type as well, so that we are going to return a promise. So we let's say, let me just do the we do the new promise. In the promise we are going to have a param. It's called resolve and reject, which we are not going to use reject here because we want everything to be resolved. So in the resolve we are having the Axios get function from Axios that take URL and the object of params. That's going to be a promise. Then let's say then we're gonna get a result from Axios. And we are going to deal with result. Result that's going to let's say just define result here, that then we're going to give it a type later. So we are going to have a result. So result going to be result and data. Then we're gonna resolve result. So what if that's an error, so that we can catch the error. So we still resolve the error. Then we are going to give it a type of, we are going to give a type to a promise. So we are going to define a called API function. let's say type, we call it API function that is take a generic, and it's going to return a promise. In a promise, instead of resolve the result, we want it to be an array, and in the first of the array it's gonna be unknown, and the second one will be response. Let's just call it response, and or it could be undefined. So for this response, we need to define that to say interface response that take the generic, and so according to the Open API, that's we use the error number, that's going to be a string, and the error message, that's going to be a string too, and with the data. Data is something that we're going to pass in the future, and we need to pass in the generic here. So in here we can do like this, and then we need to pass in generic here. Let me see. That's going to be not here. Oops. For this get function, we need to before we do that, we can actually, because this is that's the error here, so response, that's going to be a type of response. Assign a type to it, and resolved. So we are going to resolve the resolve the first. As you can see here, we get an error, or we get a result in the array. So that's the error will be none, and an error gonna be wrong, and with the results. Same thing here. If we got resolve here, we can, that's result going to be, and that's gonna, the error, it has error, and the data gonna be undefined, and then we need to resolve data that's as unknown as f function response. Right, is never assigned to use const instead. So it asked to use const, so it doesn't matter. So it looks pretty good for now. What happened here? It's built on argument but got 2 resolved. Oh yeah, we need to put that in the array. Okay, it looks pretty good. We can, that's an error, we need to export that. And apart from here, that's a warning here, and everything is good. And before I'm going to use get, what I want to do is I add another parameter into get function. So we call it as a clear func. So this is the function that's gonna deal with the data, like if some of the so that this is going to be a optional function. So So let me just define that say type function that take the data. Data is the data that is in from the future, that from the sending back from server. So that's going to be put the unknown function that so clear function that's going to, so we need to check if that's a clear function exists. So if clear function is not equal to undefined, it means that exists. So we're gonna use the clear function to deal with the data. Maybe it's going to format our data, or they're gonna wash our data. So after wash that, we can return that to result. So that's unknown. Same thing as here. So let me just copy that. If that with the clear function, otherwise we are going to just return back of result data. So let me just quickly go through that. We define some interface, some types, and then we define a function called get, and the get function take 3 parameters. First one called URL, second one is a param, and the third one is a clear function, which is going to take care of the data that returning from server. So this get function that return a promise. In the promise, we call our library called Axios. We get the function called get that help us to deal with that help us to send a request to server. And when the data get back, we deal with we format data, or we return the data. Then in the end, we use the result to return the data. Okay, it look cool so far. So let's see what let me just check the a task. What have we done so far? We haven't done that, and we haven't done that. We are going to call a request function, which is because we haven't defined any of the like a URL or any like some fundamental stuff, so we can't really send a request now. So what we can do is that we can do the request interceptor, which is that help us to define the header, to define URL before we actually sending a function. Okay, so so what am I going to do is I'm going to do the request interceptors. So in Axios, it has a function called interceptor. So for request, and then we're going to use function called use. So in the interceptor, we're going to modify or customize our config. So this config, we are going to handle the request header, and then we're going to config the auth, like tokens. So we're going to call a function. We call a function called handle change request header. So we're going to passing a param config, and the same thing, we are going to handle the config auth. Then we are going to return config. So we need to define these 2 methods. which gonna help us to customize the config. So let me just create a file called tools. So in the tools we got a export const tools TypeScript handle change request header. So that take configs. Let me just copy that as well. Okay, we had configs. So, and what we are going to define our base URL. So we can say config, and config is an object. So we can use the base URL that equal to. I'm gonna copy that my URL later. So and we can set the timeout to, let's say, let's say 3 seconds. I just copy my URL from my previous project. And this is going to handle config auth. So for every request we will send, we will make sure that we have add our tokens in there. So token, that's got the token going to be on the header. So what we can do is we can say config header, then we add token. So you can get your token from local storage. Local storage, get item. Maybe you have token, or if you don't have token, it's just passing empty string. And then we can do the type. We can pass in the type, or not that. The type supposed to be like this. Let me pass that in. Oops. Header, that's the error headers. Okay, let's just quickly go through what we have done. We have defined 2 functions. First one is to deal with to add the config to the add the base URL and the add timeout setting to config. And the second one, we add the token to the header. So that's going to get our local storage, which in our demo we don't have tokens. So it doesn't really matter as long as you guys know that you can get your token from local storage. So we got two of these functions, and we are going to use that in the before requests get sent. I think we need to return that. So yeah, we have defined the interceptor for the request. So let me just check that. we have request. We have done that request interceptor, and modify the request header. We have done that. We set user token. Yeah, we've done that. And then after that is the sending a request. On the sending a request, and when the request come back, we need to get the response, and we need to do some like handling error, internet error, handling auth error, and handling general error. So that's what we are going to do next. So we have this request, and so next we are going to Axios interceptors response use, and that takes response, and we are going to deal with the response. Like we say if response, if response status not equal to 200, then I'm going to return promise reject response data. I'm gonna reject with response data, and we also need to handle auth error. So maybe we define a function called handle auth error. So we pass in the response data error number. So this function going to deal with the response error with the error number, and we also need to deal with the general error. And in the general, we take the error number, and we take the error message data error message. Then we return response, and with the response that have the second param. Second param is error. Second param is another function that take an error, and in the error we are going to handle network errors. Let's say handle network error. Say error response status. I'm going to get promise with the reject, and with the error response. So we are going to define these three functions. These three functions going to deal with the error from the which is sending back from server. So we're gonna define that in a file, tool file. So let's say export const. So handle auth error. So if we can look at the auth error, that take error number. Error number that can be string type. Let's see, const. That return a boolean. So So what we are going to do is that we are going to have a map, or we are going to have an object that I have defined on my project. So that is handle auth error. If we get an auth error, it's like a code with the like 01131. It means like we're gonna have this message saying like, because it's token invalid, so we are going to show this message. And if that's the 10032, it means that token expired, and then we are going to show different message. So if let's say auth map with the error message, if that exists, we are going to do alert here, because this is an example. So in general, you can toast a message, and we can do the alert, and you can, that's the auth error. Maybe you are going to do a logout action, and then that's going to return false. And else it's gonna return true. You can do return, or if you don't like it, you don't really need to do return. You just, so in my case, I just do return instead. So we have done auth error, and let's import that. So next one, I'm gonna do general error. General error, that return a boolean to, and I believe that take two params. Yeah, take an error number and the error message. Let's say that's a string. That's a string 2. So if we say error number not equal to, if that's not equal to 0, it means that has a problem. We need to alert message. Then we can return that false. Else we're going to return true. Because in Open API standard, so if error message is 0, it means that everything is good, and if that's not equal to 0, it means it has some problem with the data that returned back from server. So we have defined this general handler. Import that. And the next one, we are going to define a network error handler. So same thing. That's going to take, let me see, error status. So that's optional, so it's going to be a number. So void. So we are going to have a array 2. So that's not going to be. Okay, that's so if we check if we have error message, error status, so we're gonna alert that out. We're going to alert the error message, whatever that matches is a key of this object, we're gonna alert a value. Then we're gonna return that. Otherwise, if like a error status, it doesn't match any of this, we are going to say alert cannot connect to server. Of course, in here you have many more of this error code. So because this is just a tutorial, so I just list of 2 of this error message. Of course, for you guys, you can have like 404 something like that. On there's many more. So we just go back and then we import that. Let's see what we have done. We have a response interceptor. We handle internet error and handle auth error. Yes, we did that. And handle general error. Yes, we did that. And okay, for now we are going to call a request function, and then we pass the params. So to have a request function, let's say, because we want to call it like this, like API user function, user inform, and the passing params. So we can create a folder called API. That's all different APIs are in here. So API, we have indexed. So we are going to have our users API. So in users file is that we are going to deal with everything about users request, like get user inform, get user list, and maybe we can have like other file called like a post that's going to deal with everything related to post, like post detail, post list, and all different stuff. So for users, so we are going to have a get users function, which is function, let's say get users. Okay, so get users, that function that takes not params, and that we're going to return the user. We use that get, and get that take our API, and yeah, that looks good. And we are going to do, we can have a let's say we can get export const, we can gather, we can get users, we have like get user inform or other things. So we can do we call that a user API, and the user API we passing get users in here. And then in the index we can get users, let's say export API, that's an object, that's a users API. Let's see. Yeah, I think we are good to go now. Let's just try that on our page, and we can have a button. In our button, we just say get users, and we're going to define a function. We're gonna get a function called get users. Function called get users. So we're going to call API get users. This is going to be a assign function await, and then that's going to return array with the error and the response. And we are going to say if there's an error or there's a not defined, the result is not defined, the result is true, so it means we have some problem with our data, so we are not going to run that. We return that's early return. Then we can carry on with our stuff like dealing with the data. We're gonna log that out. Let's say get user result data. Okay, let's try that out. So get user, see if we can get users. And let's say where's the okay, here then. Let's say we get users. As you can see, we get users come back now. So far so good here. So like we got a data, but we don't know what we don't know what is coming back from data. What type of data? What type of data is sending back from the server? As you can see on here, the data is an array with the object. In the object, there's a key called email with the string type and the UUID with the string type too. In this case, we can define it. We can define it in user. So what we're going to do is that we can have a generic. So we can tell the generic that's going to be a object. Object have the email that's a string type and a UID with a string type too, and that the object is in the array. And of course we need to pass into here too. So, and we also need to define the return. Return is going to be here. Return that's going, let me see. Return going to be that return going to be like this return. We need to import that. We don't have that now. Maybe you can. Right, that we define our generic here, and we pass in the type, and that's the array with the object, and in here, then we know that's if say data, and as you can see, we got all methods. That methods all belong to array. Let's say length and that from previous message, as we can see, there's three the array with the 3 objects in there, so that's supposed to be returned with 3. Let's click it. As you can see, we got 3. And let me see what we're going to do next. Next one I want to do is I wanted to we've done the get. I wanted to do the post. We're going to do the post method. It's pretty much similar to get. It's just a little bit of modification. So we have a get, we call it a post, and a post that take, apart from use URL param, and that also take a second param called data. We need to define a data here. It's same as this type, object type. And let's say that's a post. And that's it. And that's it. We can define our post. Let's say get user inform. Let's say function get user inform. So that's generate, and the user inform that's going to return user email and the user UUID, not an array but in an object, and that's going to return the same thing. So that's going to return, instead of get, it's going to be post. So that's going to post. That's point with this URL, and that's take the param as a, that's take the param called email. So I need to define email here. So that's the email. That's gonna be string type. So we export that, and let's call this function. So we can just copy that. We call it a get user inform API. What's going to get user inform? Yeah, and here we need to, as you can, that's a hint. We need to argument for email was not provided, so we are going to pass in email. So we are going to pass this email in order we can get our data back. So we can console log our response as if we know there's a response, there's a data, and in the data that's also an email and the user UUID, because we have defined that in this method. That's the data that returned back from server. So get user inform. Yeah, we can call this function. So if I click that, it's going to print out undefined, and it print out user ID. Maybe I got different, or maybe I got wrong key for the value. Let's say user info. Okay, it returned array with quite a lot of stuff. It has UUID and the email. Let me have a look. Oh, it's not email, it's called email, user's email. So we call it a user's email. That's an error. That's supposed to be user's email. Let's try that again. Get user. As you can see, we get our data back. Okay, like what if I get a mistake on the if that email, that user not exist? Let's say let's add something. Just make sure this email is not exist. So what's going to be? As you can see, the user is not exist. How where is this message come from? Let's check that here. Basically we check here first. We check the network. As you can see, that's the error. Error number with -1. So if we come here with a response that take the error here. That not this one, sorry. And okay, that take the auth error here. It doesn't match anything. So it go for next one, next general a general error handler. So in here it check the error number is not equal to 0. So it bring out error message. The error message provided from the backend server. That's the reason why that's the message from here, error alert message. Okay, we are going to check something else. In user, I'm gonna to check user authentication. Like here, we're gonna request a URL. We make sure the error message come here, and we'll make sure error message here, like 131, and he's gonna that's going to print it out. So we come here again, and we copy that. Oh no, actually we need to define let's say a function. Let's say check check token expired. Check token expired. That's a generic, and that take not params. Same thing here. So we are going to call this URL here. This URL is called API token expired. So we're gonna try that. So this is called check token expired. I believe that is not going to come here because that already returned. Okay. If we are going to check our, let's say, check our token. Let me just network. So as you can see, it got a message come back, and in the message it says the login expired. Please log in again. Login expired. Token expired. So that basically we call this function that make a request. The request with the return back with the error number 10032. So in here, when the response come back and it passing, it check the auth error. It check auth error and it get hit 10032. It get hit, and that's the alert come from here. It alert the message because the error number has matched in our handler auth error, as you can see here, and that's why it got alerts pop out. Then after that, it gonna call this function called general error, and in general error, it check the error code is not 0, and it bring out the error message. Okay, and the next one I want to check is called a token invalid. Very similar to token expired. It just returned back with different error number. So we're going to try that anyway. So may I just copy that? As you can see here, we call a different URL. This URL gonna return a different error number. I don't think so. That has printed out earlier. And yes. We try that, and that should print. If the code come back with the 10031, that's gonna error logging. This message gonna get printed out. This error message gonna printing out, and this function gonna get called, because the error number is not equal to 0. It's not equal to this string 0. So we check that. As you can see, login error, need to log in again. As you can see, because that error number is 10031, is that get hit here, and it's not equal to 0. Great, beautiful work. So let's see what we have done. We call a request function. Yes, we did that. And we handle request params. Yes, and we send a request. And we handle the return data and complete the request. Looks like we have done everything in this video. Okay, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And for the code, I'm gonna upload that on GitHub, and I'm going to leave the GitHub address on YouTube. If you guys like this video, please hit the subscribe button and give a like. I'll see you guys on next video. Bye for now.